Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Success Shift. My name is Jake, and it's a lovely Friday. I was just saying before we started this episode that I'm feeling a little bit somber now that Mum's gone. But such is life. That is the ebbs and flows of emotion and life in general. But, as was discussed, that it's really, really beautiful that I had the opportunity. And so with happiness sometimes comes sadness. And, we use the highs to think. We use the highs to surpass the lows, and we use the lows to appreciate the highs. And so, sometimes this in itself can be a really good eye-opening moment for gratitude. And one of the best sayings that I've heard, which has helped me through a lot of times, is "this too shall pass." And I think I've mentioned it a few times on this podcast. But basically, it refers to the sense of if times are tough and things are struggling and it seems like everything is bleak, this will pass with time. And even though things might seem like you're on cloud nine and everything is great, this too shall pass. So it tries to keep a bit of humility in the good moments and a bit of hope in the sad moments. And I think it's a really powerful and short and simple saying of "this too shall pass." 4 words. And so today, I'm going to find that extra gratitude for the highs and the lows, the sads and the good times, and the frustration, along with the joy that comes with trading, as well as the losses and lessons that come alongside the wins. Now, I think as most of us first start trading, the highs are really high and the lows are really low when you're trading. Put some ones in the chat if you'll agree that you can have wins and you feel like you're the king of the world and this is going to make you a millionaire and your whole life's going to be different. But then you have a few losses and you feel like, I'm never going to get this. This sucks. Why did I even try? And I know for me at the start, I've said this many a time, I'm a very emotional person. There we go. Someone's coming through the chat. I'm a very emotional person. And so this was really strong for me when I started. And I think we have to understand that every single person is different. I say this almost every episode, that we are the summation of the emotions based on the past events in our life and how we hold on to them. And because of that, everyone takes things in differently, right? And we have to understand that people are different in their emotions, people are different in their responses, people are different in their reactions. And all of this needs to be taken into consideration. And that is why teaching trading is so difficult, because you can teach a strategy, but trying to teach each individual how to respond on the charts and how to get into their own psychology and how to get into their own understanding of themselves is an extremely difficult task. And the best that I'm doing here is just presenting all the lessons that I've learned along the way that have helped me layer up to the point where I'm at. And luckily for everyone here, I'm a very emotional person who goes through the highs and the lows, quite erratic, and to very highs and very lows at points in my life, which I have now learnt to work through and find ways to progress with and control and live with. Which brings me to one point that I want to talk about today, is that when you're trading, I hear people look for freedom from emotion, as in trying to not have emotion on the charts. But I think what we really need to be doing here is finding freedom of emotion. And it's not about removing the emotions from you, but knowing your emotions to such a level that you can control them with ease and without them affecting you. And this has been one of the biggest shifts in my mental game in trading. And it was, most people would teach, emotion is what's destroying you. You need to remove emotion. You can't have emotion while trading. And I think this is really wrong, because humans are made of emotion and you can't get rid of it completely. But what you can do is you can learn to control it, understand it, and manage it to such degrees that it doesn't impact you. And not only is this good in trading, but I can guarantee this will help you in many, many areas of your life. So today I've gone on a bit, but today I'm definitely finding gratitude for the highs and the lows. And like I said, my mum leaving was a bit of a low, but that makes me appreciate the high and makes me look forward to the next time that we'll see each other in Christmas. And all the bits that come with life, the ups, the downs, the good times, the bad times, the happy times, the sad times. And if you can find gratitude in the sad times, then it makes it much easier to find gratitude in the good times and the happy times. Does that make sense to everyone? Check some ones in the chat if you're following along with that. Perfect. Got plenty of ones coming through and a bunch more people joining us today, which is awesome. Okay, so chuck some gratitude in the chat. For those of you that have been here most weeks, you'll know that we always like to talk about our gratitude. I'd like to chuck yours into the chat, what you're grateful for today. And I would also like you, seeing as we're starting to approach episode 100, chuck in into the chat some of the things that you have been struggling with the most, some of the challenges, because like I said just before, every single person who comes into trading is different. We are made up of different emotions and different past experiences. And so people struggle with certain things to different levels. And as we layer on lessons and layer on different bits of information, it's important to sort of circle back to some of the things that really are conflicting for some people. So chuck into the chat your gratitude, and also chuck into the chat some of the things that have been sort of your biggest limiting or blocks as we head into the episode 100, which will hopefully be when I get back from Sweden. I'll be off to Sweden, not next week, but the week after. So we'll have a couple of weeks break, and then we'll come back. Right. As those come into the chat, your gratitude and your biggest blocks, I want to get on to the topic that I want to talk about today. And that is the concept of time and how time can directly relate to, well, everything really, but mainly our emotions and our on-chart emotions. So as we know, some of the biggest emotions in trading is fear and greed. All right. Now, I've said this before, but fear is basically you assuming it's false events appearing real. So it's your brain going, I'm predicting the future, and this is what I'm predicting it to be. And so therefore I'm allowing that into my person, and I'm going to let the emotions start to run. And basically all emotions are the feeling that you get from the thought or the action that's happening. It's the chemical change inside your body. So there's always a chemical shift. There's usually some, I think it's the adrenal gland. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a biologist. But basically that regulates the levels of hormones that are released due to different actions and thoughts. And this is a direct chemical change. And when we speak about reacting and how reactions are based on chemical change, we then want to understand that what happens when we have these thoughts and all these actions happen. We have these feelings, which create a flow of chemicals, which then creates a reaction. Now, if we aren't in control of our emotions, like I was discussing before, rather than trying to ignore them, if we want to control them, if we aren't in control, we let those reactive nature of the chemicals in our body play out into action. Now, everyone I'm sure who's been trading for a little while will know when they see at some point a frustration or a big candle shoot up, and you can feel inside your body your heart change, your pupils probably dilate, and this fluctuation goes whoa. And basically what's happening is the chemical changes in your body, and now where the real strong-minded traders come into play is where you can feel that or notice that, and over time have that not affect you at all. You can be like, this is something that's emotion-based. I'm going to either step away from the charts or I'm going to remove it extremely quickly. And those who've been on the charts for a long time start to get to a point where those big inflictions or those chemical changes in the body don't cause us to react, don't cause us to hit the button, don't cause us to freak out and close our trade. Okay, so I really want you to understand the concept of emotions really are just a changing chemical in our body. And what we need to learn to do is control them. And now one of the biggest ways, and this is the whole reason why I'm trying to teach trading psychology, is for us to understand that you need to learn the strategy, but then you need to learn yourself to a certain point where you can control how you behave to such a level that you can follow a set of rules without failure. And then trading is as simple as the rules are what depict your outcome, not you. But the problem is, for 90% of people, we are what depict our outcome because we struggle to follow our rules. Why? Because of relationship with money, because of 101 possible different reasons. So the reason I bring up time and relate this to this, what I'm talking about, is because yesterday we were talking about love, happiness, and success, and the concept of when you're in the moment and not chasing after these feelings, these states of mind, these states of being, then it's very easy for them to come to you and for you to embrace them. Now, a lot of these emotions that we have, fear, based on time. I'm going to predict what is happening in the future, and that is going to scare me, either into taking action or to responding in a different way. Or sadness often comes from, I'm living in a memory which is in the past, and therefore I'm sad because of what has happened. Like for me today, example, I was saying I'm sad because my mum's left. My mum left yesterday. And so the sadness is coming from an experience that I had yesterday and that I'm holding on to. Now, how does this all relate to trading? Well, when we're on the chart, we see a candle move. And what most of us do is we go, oh, this candle is going to make the chart go up. So therefore, I'm happy to be in a trade because I know it's going to go up based on my past experiences. Now, while understanding patterns and realizing that patterns do repeat is extremely important, we cannot have this concept of certainty. We need to have an ideology of probability. And I think Judy, who's often on these calls, said, that probability versus potential battle. I can't remember if that's the words that she was using exactly, but I really like that phrasing because often when we look at a trade, we predict the future and then try and hold on to the possibilities of what it could be. So we go, oh, look at this. Actually, if it breaks past this level, there is so much room. I could get all this amount of money. And you start to live in this future state of you closing the day with a $500 trade or a $5,000 trade, whatever it is compared to your bank account. And as soon as we can let's try and remove this time that we have attached to what we're doing. Because if we can step out of the fact, oh, this last trade did this, so therefore this next trade's probably going to do this. This is living in the past. This is that fear coming from emotion of in the past, or that state of I'm in a trade and it could go to these levels. How amazing. I'm going to hold on. I'm not going to follow my rules. Then we start to make mistakes. We start to get emotional and things start to happen that aren't based on a set of rules. They start to happen because of our predictions or our fears from the past or our greed coming in based on our over-exaggerated expectations. And we end up making these drastic mistakes, and then that mistake leads into the next one because we base it off the past. And you're like, oh, these two trades did this, so this next one must do this. Can you see how, chuck some ones in the chat if you can see how time is really having a big effect on the way that we perceive what could happen and what we believe has happened and how that affects exactly what is happening in the moment. Because I know it's a bit of a confusing concept to wrap your head around, but honestly, once you can grasp this idea that our emotions are semi-attached to time and all we're doing is over-exaggeratedly predicting the future or hanging on to something that's happened in the past, then you'll be able to go, this doesn't actually affect anything that's happening in the charts right now. You'll be able to let go of those things and you'll have this freedom of emotion, not freedom from emotion, but this freedom of emotion where you go, you know what? It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter what's going to happen in the future. All that matters is what's happening right now. My trading plan says, if this closes, this one candle in 7-8 seconds, whatever it's going to be, closes bullish engulfing, it ticks all of my check marks on my trading plan. So therefore, I am okay to take this trade. And in this situation and in my emotional state, I am accepting the full risk of this amount of money that I'm willing to put down. Risk management is checked. I am accepting this risk. Okay, let's enter the trade. And then phase 2 of this is not living in that decision. As soon as you've pressed that button, that decision is in the past. Do not hold on to it. Do not latch on with time to the decision you made about entering the trade or exiting the trade. If it's the worst trade ever, does not matter. If it's the best trade you've ever made, it does not matter. All that matters is what's happening right this second and how you manage the trade. You've gone from entry decision to management decision time. And this is why in the trading journal that I have how did you feel before the trade? How do you feel during the trade? And how do you feel after the trade? Because these are 3 separate states. And I've said this before, you can enter a trade in greed mode and you can manage it in fear mode. Hopefully over time, you don't do either of those things and it's full logic mode, but it can happen. Okay? So I really want you to try and grasp this concept of how time has a huge impact on our emotions based on what we believe could happen. And the thing is, this is why it's so hard to teach, because I can't guess what's going on in your brain of what you're thinking can happen in the future. All I can do is tell you to not have the thoughts about the future or the past and just stick to the moment. Because trying to get in the mind of someone else to guess what they're predicting is literally a mission impossible. So there's no way to help someone who's continuously predicting the future and holding on to the past. But what we can do is we can try and I don't like this term ever putting blinkers on, because I really like to have peripheral vision. I always say zoom out and, understand your whole environment, XYZ, but I want to use the term put your blinkers on, because I just want you to be in this moment. What is this one candle doing? My rule says that if I get an LC exit, if this candle closes with that shift, I'm exiting. That is what my rule says. Not this is what my rule says, but in this particular case, there's a chance because of the size of that candle and maybe because of what happened last time. And I did know that actually, there was a bit of a movement yesterday, and I did get news from my friend who said it could possibly be going up. So let's just not follow my rule this time, because I reckon this one's going to go up. Because as soon as you start doing any of those things, whether it goes up or down, it doesn't matter. You're already affecting your trading. If it goes up and you get a win, awesome. You're forcing bad habits from breaking your rules. If it goes down and you get a loss, you're not trusting your trading plan. You're not trusting in yourself, and you're self-sabotaging. So no matter what you do, when you start to live in the future or the past and you break your trading rules, it's going to have implications that do not benefit your trading style. Okay? Now, I wanted to try and read through some of these messages before I got onto that discussion, but unfortunately I got started, and me, sometimes I just can't stop. So chuck some ones in the chat if that's making sense, and I'm just going to have a flick through and we'll do some gratitude right now. Grateful for my beautiful surroundings and family visits too. I'm grateful for a weekend at home for a change. That's nice. Sometimes it's nice to have that quiet time. I'm grateful for my past decisions, which have created a sweeter life for today. That's awesome. I'm grateful for the grace I have with myself. I'm grateful for the patience and understanding for myself and loved ones. I love it. I've struggled with self-sabotage and the glaring awareness that trading brought up of the need to process some parts of my life in order to move forward. Yes, self-sabotage is one that I think gets a lot of people. And the next step is to define what self-sabotage is to you. And it definitely is something further within. Grateful for the sound of spring. Grateful for the changes in my trading. Love it. And learning that I'm actually worthy of success. That is a big step. So I think everyone needs to understand this. That's been put in the chat. I am grateful for learning that I am actually worthy of success. And I think this comes from a lot of childhood stuff. I know for me, for a while, I had this. Luckily, I was in an environment where I was able to dismiss of this one and realize I was worthy. But I think once you really truly understand that you are worthy of success and that you can do this and you don't have that tall poppy syndrome like we do in Australia, then it's quite freeing. My biggest block is self-sabotage. There we go. When trading, it's interesting how many emotions rise up when I started trading. I was surprised because I'm not those emotions when I'm not trading. Yeah, it really can be. The emotions that you get when you're on the charts can be completely different to the emotions that you have when you're not on the charts. And I've said this many a times that for me, greed, I didn't think I was a greedy person at all, but greed has had a huge impact on the way I trade. And I'm still seeing like the few mistakes that I'm making still, I can still relate back to it being greed. And I don't know where this has come from and I don't know why I've got it. But trading has brought it out of me, and I'm always on a journey of trying to figure out where this has come from and how I can change that. Self-sabotage, frustration, lack of control, self-hate, very bad self-talk, turned around, perseverance, courage, dedication, control, growth. Yeah, so I think these are often quite related. You get frustrated from your self-sabotage, and then that also comes from when you don't have control of your emotions and you don't have that emotional regulation. And then once you do that enough times, you get very hateful to yourself, and this creates a bad self-talk. And all these things that are linked in this comment here, I think are all related to some of that subconscious childhood. I don't want to say trauma, but subconscious childhood beliefs that you've still got held on. And I think it's only a few changes in there and figuring out exactly what it is will be that breaking point to move forward. So these are all great because I want to figure out what the key aspects are that I can continue to help people with. Right. So we've got greatest struggle is understanding that my vulnerability is a strength rather than the weakness, and quieting the negative voice in my head. Yes, this is all great stuff. Lots of that self-narrative that we talk about a lot on this call, I think is going to help a lot of people here. Grateful for the good fight. I love having a specific vision and the certainty that answers the answers from getting from here to there are within me. I'm grateful for patience, compassion, and forgiveness. I'm grateful for the grade and kindness that covers me each step of the way, and my husband's support. I love it. One of those things that we spoke about just on Tuesday, the small changes in your vocabulary. I don't understand this yet. Just that little word, that will get you from where you are to where you want to be, regardless of the path that you should go, because you're like, oh, this might not be the right journey. This might not be the right answer. I don't know the right answer yet. You're still going to keep looking and you're still going to keep going. I love it. So my greatest struggle, consistency of managing trades. Yep. A fear-based mindset versus a winning mindset take over me more often than not. I'm working through it though, and I'm not there yet. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Right on the end of that sentence. It's almost like it was meant to be. That's quite funny. A fear-based mindset. It's definitely something that I think is worth delving into, the difference between a greed and a fear-based mindset and how we can find ways to get on top of that. And consistency of managing trades. Yeah, the consistency in managing trade will also come down to your trading plan. If you've got rules that are, you should have trading rules or plan that helps you enter a trade, but you should also have trading rules and a plan that help you exit a trade or manage a trade as well. So we got lots of ones coming through. Thank you so much for everyone who was sharing there. I am worthy of success. I love that. Say it loud, say it proud. Trading book Greed out too. I'll definitely pay more information to my narrative as I understand how powerful they can be. The mind can be our greatest servant or our worst enemy. So a lot of the feedback that we got just then was that this self-sabotage and self-hate, and it was actually quite related to the concept of time that we were talking about, because what is most of this self-sabotage? What is this negative self-talk? It is us holding on to our past experiences and the emotions we have to those past experiences and letting them drive us today. And it's very, very common. I'm not a psychologist who can tell you how to snap out of that, but I can tell you that if you can let go of some of those past experiences or forgive or find your self-worth compared to some of the experiences you may have had and go, you know what, I'm not that person anymore. And this comes back to self-gratitude. We find gratitude every day, but find gratitude for yourself, find gratitude for the progression you've made, find gratitude for the things that you've done, and realize that you're not the person that you're thinking that you are from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago, from 20 years ago, which is where this self-sabotage, self-hate, this negative self-talk, and most of this frustration comes from. You can literally be a new person every single day you want, and it just is a decision. And I know it's placing very really simplistic concepts on some things that take people years and years and years to shift. But when you deep down decide that you're going to be that different person, and it can be as simple as I'm no longer that person, then you can actually start to shift in a completely different direction. And this is that time grasp. I'm holding on from the past experiences to all of these emotions, which is affecting me today. Because I'm also scared that if I do the same thing, then what happened in the past will happen again. Exact same thing on the charts. I'm scared that if I do this, then what happened in the past will happen again. This is why the exercise by Mark Douglas is really good, because he says that when you actually go the exercise and you do it properly, you'll go loss, 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 and then you'll be in this state of mind of going, oh, this next one's going to be a loss because of what's happened in the past, but I'm still going to stick to my rules anyway. And then you see a win, your immediate psychology changes, like, whoa, hang on. Actually, that had no impact. The past experiences had no impact on what was going to happen in the future. And that is thinking in probability. So once we can remove ourselves from this grasp of time, we can hopefully let go of some of this fear. We can hopefully let go of some of this self-negative talk, this emotional baggage that we're holding on to, that is allowing us to struggle with consistency, that is keeping us from finding the ability of just following the trading plan. Because all that's happening is you've got a trading plan in front of you, and then you let the current environment manipulate you in the way because of your emotions to a high enough degree that you go, no, I'm not going to follow my trading plan. Instead, I'm going to go with what I'm feeling in the moment and what I feel to be true in this situation. And I can guarantee you, when you're still in that mindset, you are never going to beat the market, because the market is always going to manipulate your emotions. But what you can do is you can forget about the future, forget about the past. You can live in the present moment on the charts, and you can follow your trading plan to a T. And then it's as simple as adjusting your trading plan, because nothing else matters. It's just getting the trading plan that works. And we know for a fact that we're in an environment with people who have got trading plans that work very well. 7-figure trading plans, 7-figure traders. All of that is extremely possible once you have the ability to detach from the future or the past and live purely in the moment, in present time, on the charts and what's happening. And this is kind of what I wanted to touch base on, is the things we were talking about yesterday: love, happiness, and success. These are states of mind that you can be present in. These are emotions that come from being in the present, whereas things like fear, things like anger, things like sadness are past tense or future tense emotions. But the strong ones, the ones that we're always chasing, love, happiness, success, they're found when you are in the moment with the person you love, in a happy space. Or when you're looking at yourself and going, damn, I've done so well. I am successful. And you can be successful one day and then not feel successful the next day because you've just all of a sudden been like, actually, I'm going to compare myself to someone else, or compare myself to a past me, or compare myself to where I should be, time-based, and then lose that feeling of success. The more we can live present in the moment, the easier we can find happiness, the easier we can find love, the easier we can find success, and hopefully the easier we can find good results on the charts. Okay? So I hope that has made some sense to some people. I know there was a lot coming out of my mouth just then, and I really hope it was clicking. But this has been one of the biggest shifts for me, and everything that was commented here in the chat with, you know, some of the struggles and some of the things that we're really not being able to get break through. A lot of that comes from your time attachment to emotions. And trust me, it's a lot easier said than done, but once you can do it, it's very freeing. All right. So thank you, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. For those of you who are trading with us, go jump over to the trading call. We will be jumping on there. Make sure you go through your trading journal. Make sure you go through your trading plan. Make sure you do your routine. I say this every day. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast, much love, and I'll speak to you again next week. All right, bye for now.